And happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the AskOkey podcast. Coming to you, at least we're alive, but not exactly live, from Studio 1 here at stately AskOkey Mansion. And don't forget before we start to like and subscribe, because as I've said before, every little bit helps. Now, without further ado, I have Proff here, of course, as my guest, and let's get started. Proff, how are you?
I am very well, looking a bit subdued today.
Really?
Wouldn't you say?
Funereal, I would say. Is this a black suit, Proff?
It's a midnight. Remember, no black suits.
It's a midnight, no black suits.
No black
so,
suits.
no matter how dark midnight might be, moonless, as they might say, it's not black, it's midnight. And it's midnight what?
This is a linen wool blend.
Okay.
It's just appropriate for summer. It's quite, it's almost like a fresco. When you hold it up to the light, it almost looks like a fresco, but it is a linen wool blend, 50-50.
So it's a summer office style suit.
That is correct. Well, I would say more like evening dressy. It's a bit dark. Midnight is a bit dark for the office. I mean, it could be warm for the office, but typically for business where you go with navy, which is about a shade lighter than this.
It is.
But midnight is something I think we talked about this in one of the previous podcasts. When I have to go out in the evening, I mean, if it's not a black tie event, if I want to look dressy, I either wear midnight or charcoal.
And this is a little bit darker than charcoal, so it's...
Well, it's a different color. You know, charcoal is equally dark, but this is in the blue family. I'm not sure. Under artificial light, it might come off a bit darker. It might even come off darker than charcoal.
Well, again, it depends partly on the light and it depends partly on the ambient shades, doesn't it?
Correct.
So if you're standing next to something black, you'll see that it's in fact midnight blue.
Correct.
And you perk it up with the socks.
Yes, AskOkey, of course.
The AskOkey socks, very good. Patriotic of you, Prof.
Yes.
Patriotic. Now...
An AskOkey tie,
An AskOkey tie, isn't that amazing?
If I might add.
Yes, by all means. Yes, good.
All AskOkey today, top to bottom.
Right, okay, except for the shoes.
Yes.
And that's good because it's nice for people to be able to see that Prof wears his own product, as you might say.
Absolutely.
Of course, we're accustomed to the jackets and the trousers being AskOkey, but not always the ties. Have you got a full set? Because I don't think we've seen you wearing AskOkey ties very often.
Well, I do have a few of them. I've worn quite a few on stage.
Okay.
But as you know, I have a broader, well, I wouldn't say a broad tie collection, probably about 20 to 25 ties, that's it. So I tend to rotate them.
Yes, indeed. Good. And that sort of perks up the dark suit in a way, doesn't it?
Yes, and it's sort of a light pink shirt.
Yeah, oh, right, okay.
Sort of a light pink Winchester contrast color shirt. So the burgundy sort of picks up the pink. And, of course, the pocket square.
And the peak lapel. Now, this is a bit of a departure for AskOkey, isn't it? Because this is quite a peak.
Yes, we launched this not so long ago on the website, actually. So it's available on the website. It wasn't one of our earlier models, but we launched this maybe a month or two ago with a new website redesign. So it's a model that has been heavily requested by those who wanted a single-breasted jacket, but something a little bit more dressy.
Yes.
So this is, and we've done a reel on this about sort of levels of formality.
Right.
You have your single-breasted notch lapel, you have your single-breasted peak lapel, then you have your double-breasted.
Right.
So in order of sort of, shall I say, formality or dressiness, I think sort of that's a spectrum, with the single-breasted notch being the most, let's say, class. Well, I suppose you would say practical. You know, or conventional. And then the peak lapel, single-breasted being something a bit more dressy, but still single-breasted. And then double-breasted being dressier.
Obviously, with the peak lapel. No, but that peak looks a little bit peakier, as you might say, than the nearly window pane peak lapel that you have.
It is the same.
It's the same, is it? Well, it just goes to show, you see, it's partly the fabric,
Fabric,
and it's
correct.
partly the color. The fabric particularly, because if it's a woolly, fluffy sort of fabric, it doesn't look so pointed
Correct.
as that one does.
Correct. Correct.
Very smart, very smart. Well done.
Thank
And are those triple Fs, or are those trousers more in the classic?
No, these are regular classic cuts
okay.
in the Hollywood waist, if
Right,
you don't
okay.
mind me standing
Go
up.
ahead, yes, yes.
It's sort of a, it's a regular, regular
right.
classic cut, but it's got the Hollywood waist, which has the pleats going all the way up.
Right, yes.
So it doesn't
yes,
have a
yes.
waistband in front.
Yes,
As you
yes,
can
yes,
see,
yes.
there is no waistband in front.
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
It's just
yes.
basically everything. The pleats
Yes.
run all the way up to the seam of the
Yes,
trousers.
yes.
So this is what we call a Hollywood waist, so to
Yes,
speak.
yes.
Unbelted, of
Right,
course,
yeah,
Hollywood
yeah,
waist.
no, I get that. You don't think that the Hollywood waist is more for casual trousers rather than a suit as serious as that?
Not necessarily. It's just the
Right.
trouser choice. I mean, when you have a coat on anyway, nobody
Right,
sees
well, nobody's
it.
going to see
right?
it, yes.
But I think it's just sort of, we wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
But the typical way Hollywood trouser waists were worn were with belt loops.
Right, right.
With belt loops, is those small belt loops that are sort of slightly, that sit below the waistband of the trouser, and typically worn with very thin belts.
Yes.
So that is a classic Hollywood waist, and we might be, we might be introducing that in our MTM line in the near future.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, the reason for the Hollywood waist and the belt loops are dropped because, as you know, when you wear a belt, it goes around your waist.
Mm-hmm.
And the trousers kind of slide down behind it.
Correct.
So to get a reasonable waisted trouser and be able to wear a belt, the belt has to be below
Absolutely.
the top of the trousers.
Absolutely.
So you're probably looking at having the belt loops about an inch.
An inch below the
seam, top. Below the top of the
seam.
trouser, yeah.
Exactly.
So you get an inch down there, and then it's quite a good effect because then you actually can have a belt
And
which
it's
goes around
actually
your waist.
functional. It's actually
Yeah,
functional because when the belt loops sit at the top of the trousers, like you say, you keep having to pull them up.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
the belt keeps rolling inside.
That's it.
Whereas when it sits on the outside, it really sort of almost pins the the waist. It pins the waist to the trousers, so it functions better.
Well, it certainly
way,
does,
in my
yes.
view.
They used to call it, they called it a paper bag waist, you see, at the time. And I think the thing is, for some reason, they were quite common up until probably 1959, 1960, and then they sort of disappeared completely. And it's nice to see. You can get them from some, I think Kit Blake has some. People like that, those sort of specialist artisan makers. In any case, good and interesting. And once you get close to the fabric, you can see it's got a sort of basket weave to it.
Yeah, that's the linen sort of. It's a linen wool blend. So it's sort of slightly openly woven. I mean, if I weren't the wiser, I probably thought it was a fresco because it just looks
yes,
like
exactly.
a fresco.
Yes.
But it isn't. This is I remember very well. This is it's from a linen wool blend.
Whose is it?
This is by Fox.
It's Fox.
Yes,
Okay.
This is by Fox.
Great. So something new, and everybody remember, it's midnight, it's not black, and it's a linen wool blend, highly recommended from Fox, and of course you can get it if you order a similar garment from AskOkey, the shameless plug there. Now, things have been busy, Prof, on social media.
Yes.
Very busy, some heated...
Even controversial.
I was going to say combat, is that the right word to
Combative.
use? Certainly some discussion back and forth.
Yes.
Occasioned by the picture of a quite well-known film star wearing a suit from a quite well-known Saville Row tailor.
That is correct.
Yes. Compared, slightly invidiously, I think, to AskOkey eventually. It's curious, isn't it? And one does have to wonder what the tailor in question thought he was making. Maybe he was asked to make something like that. Maybe he was paid a lot of money just to make something like that. But certainly, it certainly didn't look very terribly impressive.
You know, Pete, we've I engage this conversation with a lot of what's the right word I'm looking? Solemnity, if that's the right word. You know, not necessarily coming out beating our chests and saying, you know, listen, we can do this better. But really, you know how much I and all of us have learned from the great masters.
Oh, indeed.
On
yes.
Saville.
Yes.
You know, beginning with Schultz.
Yes.
And all the great masters that came. And it is really sad. It saddens me to see what Saville has come to.
With a couple of exceptions, I think.
With a couple of exceptions, but really, I mean, unless they're not present on social media, but when you look at social media, what you see is just really heartbreaking.
It is.
Really heartbreaking.
Yes.
It's as if there is no pride. They take no, in fact, it's as if they don't care about the work.
Well, there's no ethos.
They don't care about the work.
Yeah,
I mean, you look, you know, for goodness sake, Brad Pitt.
Well, there you go. I didn't mention his name. I didn't say his name.
When he comes into your shop,
yes.
you should make sure that it should be sort of a prime shining example of your best work.
Yes.
And then you have the temerity to put it on your social media.
Mind you, the chap standing next to him, there was him, there was a lady, and there was another chap.
That was a leather suit. That was not
it was a leather suit.
That was something
That
different.
wasn't.
You know, but my point is that the whole idea of taking pride in work, and it's just gone. That culture is gone on Saville. Sadly, I hasten to add. It's really very, very sad.
Yes.
And I don't say this again. I don't say this ruefully or sort of, you know, as a pejorative or sort of to knock as a knock on. I truly take it personal because really, and a lot of what we do and what we've learned, we wouldn't have, you know, were it not for,
of course,
you know, the people, the great men and
women.
women
Well, they're the masters,
who have come through the role. So seeing, you know, looking at these images, whether it's the one from Anderson and Shepard today. And then, of course, as the controversy brewed on our Instagram, you know, the name Huntsman came up, and we went to their IG page and pulled up a morning dress. I'm like, Jesus Christ, who made this? Or even, it's not even a question of who made it, but who allowed this to be posted on social media?
Who let it out of the shop?
Who let it out of the shop? I mean, even if you made a grave error, please hide it. Don't put it as sort of your, as a display of your work. So it really begs this, you know, and I think we've talked about this in the past. I think, you know, the real issue here is that what you don't have, you can't give. What you don't have, you can't give. I think a lot of the new tailors, maybe not even the tailors, because tailoring is engineering, but maybe the cutters, the cutters or sort of the eyes, the designers, whoever kind of comes up with the silhouettes, right? They just have no sense of the classics, zero.
Yes, it's odd because they're right.
Zero sense of the classics. When you look at these silhouettes, right? And who knows, maybe they're even well tailored, right? Who knows, maybe in terms of the technical tailoring, maybe. But when you look at these garments, it's very, very clear that nobody with an eye for balance and proportion has paid attention to the cut, which is what we pride ourselves on.
Of course, yes. But then don't forget that we are primarily a design firm. Yes, we make, and we're very proud of what we make, and it's first class. But our ethos is that of a design house rather than just a tailoring shop. Now, what's very interesting is the quotation of Mr. Cundy from Henry Poole, who said that he actually liked what we do. And it was a pity that he hoped, rather, that people would take a lesson from it, would take a leaf out of it. But what you say, Prof, this is really important. We're getting the tradition that we work in from those very tailoring houses. Okay, so once upon a time, they were doing what we're now doing.
Correct.
Funnily enough, I don't know whether it's that they lost the plot simply because they figured, well, we'll have to make what people ask for, or they actually like what they make. See, I understand if somebody comes in and says, make me a suit like this, and they say, oh, well, he's paying for it, we'll make it. But you would think that they would say, have the decency to say, no, sir, not in my shop, thank you very much.
No, Pete, I don't think it's a question of that. When you look at the garment that we showed today, this particular Anderson and Shepherd garment in question, it's very clear that whoever made that garment just did not care. They just didn't care.
Yeah.
Nobody would let that garment go out of their shirt. Over my dead body would something like that leave the AskOkey workshop. And you know that.
Yeah, sure.
I would crucify whoever is responsible for it. So it's just a clear case of just disinterest. They're just not interested in the work. It's very clear. Nobody who's interested in the work would let something like that walk out of the workshop. It's that simple. They're not interested in the work of tailoring. They might be interested in the work of dressing movie stars.
Right, okay.
Which are two completely different
100%,
things.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, they might be they might be interested in chasing movie stars or chasing fame or chasing stars or, you know, what have you. But clearly, whoever allowed those garments to go out of the workshop is not interested in tailoring. It's that simple.
No, I understand.
There's no other way to put it.
And that, of course, is itself sad. And yet, they still maintain a reputation. And one wonders for what?
Well, the question is for how long? I mean, there's only so much you can milk that goodwill before people start to catch on. And it's already happening, unfortunately for them.
I suppose unless the public, the suit-buying public, is sufficiently kind of jaded as not to complain. But you would think people would notice it and remark to them.
Look, I mean, part of the fault is also like you look at a gentleman, and again, sorry, this is not a slam fest. Look at a gentleman like Brad Pitt, right? He's what, 61 years old. Clearly, the man doesn't understand how to wear a suit.
Yeah.
At 61.
There you go.
And very wealthy.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Because if he understood how to wear a suit, he would have known right away, even before wearing those clothes, that this is just not right.
Indeed.
So you could say it's a meeting of just sort of two of the worst. You know, you have sort of a tailoring house that just doesn't care about the product, and then you have customers who don't know any better.
Yeah, but there are plenty of people who buy, plenty of men who buy from that sort of place who do know. And maybe they get the good work. Well,
who knows? But I find it difficult to believe that they would do the good work for some, and then for such an important star, they would sort of like put in sort of a half, less than a half of an effort.
Yeah, particularly when you consider the way that Sinclair and Haywood and those fellows worked with Connery. You remember the brown Glen check suit and the flannel suit, all those suits that Connery used to wear, and how tailors were not only very pleased to be able to do it, but did a fantastic job. I really did a marvelous job.
And you know, they should have these, I guess, examples or patterns in the archives, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a question of studying what was done in the past and sort of, you know, either not doing the same thing, but sort of improving on it, marginally or what have you. But, you know, these garments we're seeing today have absolutely nothing in common, zero in common, with garments that came out of these houses, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Absolutely nothing in common.
No.
So you must wonder, is it a question of just sort of a lack of, institutions? What is an institution? An institution is a body where knowledge is transferred over generations. That's why it's called an institution.
That's right.
And there's usually is a mechanism for transferring that knowledge. And what I see is that, especially with some of these Saville houses, is a breakdown.
Yeah.
A breakdown in that sort of transfer and communication of knowledge. And when you have a breakdown in that transfer of communication, it no longer becomes an institution.
It's no longer the institution that it was. Yeah.
It ceases to be an institution. And I think it's one of these things where, you know, people just say, oh, yeah. But slowly but surely, right, the ethos, it starts to erode. I mean, look, you know, as they say, sort of, you know, it goes bad little by little, then all of a sudden, right? So that's how these things happen. And unfortunately, we're seeing it's already starting to happen. You know, people are losing faith entirely in Saville.
Yes.
I mean, look at AskOkey. When did we get started, right? And a lot of people, discerning customers, have more faith in what we do than in what Saville does.
Definitely. And that includes plenty of people who could quite easily.
And that's an unfortunate thing.
Oh, yes.
You know, fortunate as it is for us, but
for us,
it is generally an unfortunate
thing. Yes, of course it is. Yes,
really.
Yes. People who could quite easily go to London and be fitted and cut there, who will, out of preference, come to us. And when you think about it, you're talking about...
And we have customers in London.
Yeah, oh yes, I know.
We have many customers in London that easily could jump in a black cab and go down to Mayfair.
Yeah. But you see, don't forget, Prof, that most people, especially the kind of people that come to us, are too polite to say anything. So they're not going to go on social media, photograph themselves and say, look what I got from these fellas over here, and this is why I didn't go to you chaps over there. They're not going to say that.
Of course not.
So it's up to somebody else to say it. But no, you're right. The fact is that, the ethos has been lost, that the sense of style has not been passed down. And the odd thing is when people talk, and I still see this in write-ups, the Anderson and Shepherd drape. Well, I don't know what it is, because I don't see it. The Anderson and Shepherd drape, the Huntsman drape. But you don't see it on the Huntsman suits anymore. You don't see what they talk about this mysterious Huntsman drape that is conspicuous by its absence.
Well, Huntsman never really did a drape card. Huntsman has always been traditionally militarily inspired, very regimentally inspired.
Okay,
so it's always been very structured and cut close to the body.
So I must
the A&S was a house that actually really sort of had, basically they were at least commercialized the idea of the drape card.
Because that was Frederick Schott's
with
place,
Schultz,
wasn't
right,
it? Yes.
and all the tailors that came after him. So, the famous A&S drape is usually, I guess it's sort of referred to, or the A&S is referred to with the A&S, old A&S drape card. But, I mean, look at their garments today.
I know. Well, there you go. Mr. Pitt is walking around in one. And then, of course, we had interesting comparisons with a certain influencer who shall be nameless, whose picture was featured on AskOkey's reels, or stories, rather. And that, of course, is a whole other matter, because certain people obviously prefer to ignore us and don't want to, how shall I call it, wave a red rag in front of a bull,
Correct.
to get a reaction, but clearly can't escape forever being at least asked to say one thing or another, and carefully avoiding...
Particularly if you claim to be an impartial journalist.
Well, this is the curious thing, you see. This is the curious thing. However, what is interesting is that same journalist has written up anthology.
Everybody else.
B.N. Taylor.
Everybody else.
Now, the question is, why? And we'll come back to that after the break. Station identification. Stay tuned. Don't go away. Like and subscribe. Are you the best dressed man in the room wherever you go? If not, why not? It's not that difficult. AskOkey makes bespoke suits, jackets, trousers, and other garments for discerning men all over the world. So next time you look around and feel that you're not quite presentable, give us a call, send us a mail, or send us a direct message on the social media channels, and we'll kit you up to look like a king. Bye for now. So a famous journalist and, how shall we call it, an arbiter of taste in the menswear world said that he's really not very interesting. And he said that a couple of times. It's curious because one wonders, in that case, what possibly is interesting. Not another Neapolitan tailor, surely. Or another, no, seriously, or another pseudo Saville Row tailor. I mean, what's interesting about them, if you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What's interesting about another unstructured linen jacket? Mm-hmm. We've seen numerous examples of them, but mind you, this same journalist has written several times on his newsletter, because I get his newsletter, mm-hmm. that he really doesn't approve of high waists and full cuts. Mm-hmm. For some reason, Prof, he's got a thing about it. Mm. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the full cut. Now, interesting here, Prof this evening is in midnight, very restrained, very dark, funereal perhaps, the sort of thing that you wear when you're going on a very important evening, perhaps an embassy reception, wherever black tie is not required, but you want to be super formal and serious. But Prof has been known, on the other hand, to be fond of fairly bright and fairly adventurous color schemes and patterns. Now, were you always like that, or did you start in suits like this and then gradually get more colorful as you went along?
Well, when I was a banker, I'm sure I've said this a million times. Said it so many times that some people echo in the comment section. When I was a banker, every response starts with when I was a banker. But, when I was a banker, of course, you had your blues and grays, that's it.
Yeah.
You couldn't wear colorful suits to the office.
No, but what about in the evenings or outside?
Evenings, we kind of worked long hours. So
right,
it's like
in
the evening, you went out with whatever you had on in the morning or during the daytime.
Okay.
So it was all really blues and grays. And then I had a few tan suits, maybe for the weekend, or maybe summer Fridays. But that was it, your blue, gray, and maybe a couple of tan suits.
Right.
But I really didn't start experimenting with color and patterns until I started down this journey.
Sure.
Which was even before AskOkey. When I really started to tailor in Italy and I started getting really deep into tailoring. I wanted to experiment because I wanted to show through color and patterns that there was a lot more to suits than just your plain worsted blues and grays. And for me, it was just an exercise in just expression, self-expression, creativity.
Right.
And the same thing, once we launched the brand AskOkey, I wanted to invite a broader audience to what we were doing. And so for those who've always looked at a suit as a uniform, I wanted to sort of change that idea that a suit is a uniform. I wanted to sort of introduce this idea that a suit can be fun. It can be versatile. It can be practical. Yes. And it can also be playful and versatile. A suit is just a top and a bottom.
That's right.
What you do with the rest of it is up to your imagination.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
That was what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And to communicate that, you can't just sort of hold up a swatch or sort of a bolt of cloth and say, "Hey, try this, try that." And I knew once we started sort of creating our different cuts and that's why for every model we created. And fortunately or not, I'm the guinea pig. I am the model. I am the sort of the resident model for AskOkey. And so what I would do is for every different cut, I would imagine, sort of any number of colors or patterns that would look good in it. And then we would make it up as part of our marketing garments because until people really see it in its finished form, not everyone has the imagination to sort of make leap from just, a bolt of cloth to a finished garment. So we had to do some of the legwork. So when you see me wearing all these colors and patterns and so on and so forth, it's all experimental.
Yeah.
These are all sort of experimental tools. Yeah. It's not because I'm a Nick Folks and I'm given to sort of peacockry, so to speak, which is not a bad thing, by the way, Nick. If you're watching, you look absolutely splendid in your bold patterns and colors.
Well, he's sort of made a personal brand out of it.
Oh, and he carries it very well.
Yes, he does. Yes.
He has the personality and the charisma to pull it off. So, again, to answer your question, why I have sort of a broad range in terms of colors and so on is just to show the audience, to show our customers what is possible, and then allow them to decide. Yeah. And I noticed that a lot of times when our customers want to place an order, despite the fact that we have a library of thousands of fabrics that they can look at on the website, and they do look at, very often they'll find something I was wearing in a reel or in a YouTube video and say, I want that.
Right. So it's giving people a sense of what's possible.
Absolutely.
And as you said, the fabric, and unfortunately sometimes you're wearing a fabric that was a limited run and they actually can't.
Most times we can proxy it.
Yeah.
Most times if there's something I'm wearing which is a limited run, just because we have access to such a broad portfolio of fabrics, we can find something close enough to it.
That's right. That's right. And so it was a gradual thing, but it really started once you'd left banking proper.
Correct.
And I remember some of the stuff that you had done in Italy, and you started to get into not so adventurous as it has been recently. It was still fairly, Donegal patterns were
correct.
Sort of the variety there.
Correct.
And interestingly enough, an image was posted, was it today or yesterday, recently, of you. It was a sort of before and after shot, wasn't it?
Yes.
And somehow our producer gets his hands on those
old
before
photos.
Pictures, of which there are many, by the way, and reminds us all. And reminds us all that once upon a time, things were different.
Things were different, absolutely.
Things were different. I mean, those Italian garments were well made. That guy in Italy, in Naples, he's a very capable tailor.
Yes.
And they had a certain, let's face it, they did have a certain style to them, not quite so unique perhaps as what you have now. Now, wearing this one here, there was a question, and the fellow was asking, how can you perk up a dark suit? And it's a very good question, because obviously this is the idea of a dark suit you have to wear to work, and you think, oh dear, not again, what can I do with it? And Prof tells us or shows us what we can do with it, namely, the shirt can be a lighter, a little bit different color, not just blue or not just white. The tie can be a different color again, in this case maroon or reddish, wine-colored little spots. So you can do it with a shirt as well as the tie. You don't have to obviously wear a really loud tie to get some jump in your outfit, because that dark one, Prof, if it were just a dark tie and a white shirt, would look really...
Yeah, it would look rather funereal.
Really very funeral, yes, indeed. And then we've got the square. And is that an AskOkey square?
No, this isn't. Okay. I believe this is an old, that's got to be like 10 years old or more.
Right, okay.
Yes.
And then we have the blue socks.
With shadow stripes.
With shadow stripes, lighter than the suit. So there are things you can do with it. Now, that said about the navy suit, how can you perk up a gray suit? Same sort of... Well, what sort of tie options do you have with a gray suit? I mean, I suppose, again, that same tie there could be worn, couldn't it? And maybe a brown tie with a gray suit?
I would say blue.
Right,
You know,
okay.
brown ties tend to go more with navy suits.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And with gray suits, sort of something in the blue or burgundy, sort of blue burgundy family tends to go well, you know, without sort of jumping the shark. If you want to stay fairly conservative, then something like this, like a silk foulard. Silk foulard is what I'm wearing, which is sort of a simple, with this small, simple motifs. Something in blue with a gray suit, something in blue or burgundy would be fine. With navy, something in brown or
Brown
burgundy.
with navy?
Yes, it actually works really well.
Really? Because traditionally, or according to urban myth or whatever one calls it, brown and blue aren't supposed to be very good companions.
Well, they do work with the tie, not shoes, of course.
Right, okay.
But with the tie, I find that sort of not very bright, not like rust, but just sort of a very soft brown or sort of darker browns tend to work with navy suits.
There's an idea, and that would be something a little bit radical, but with the gray suit, you want to stick to dark blue, burgundy, and I guess avoiding those rather bright French blue ties that people like to wear.
You know, gray is sort of a bit of a conservative color.
It is, isn't it?
So you want to keep the palette fairly.
I guess the only way you can make gray sporty is something like a Glen check, isn't it, really?
A Glen check, Prince of Wales.
Yeah, if you don't want the colors, though, just a gray and white Glen check might do it.
If you wear, say, a Prince of Wales, a gray Prince of Wales with sort of the, you know, a colored overchecks, like with your Prince of Wales, sometimes they come with a light blue overcheck, or sort of a pink overcheck, or even a lime green overcheck.
Whoa!
That allows you to introduce more color.
It certainly does.
In the rest of the ensemble.
Absolutely, and then you can go for a greenish tie.
Exactly.
For example, to pick up the greens.
Pick up the green.
Interesting and worth thinking about when you look at your tie and your jacket. So don't just look at the ground color, but also the stripes or the checks.
The secondary colors.
The secondary colors, yes, and what you can get there. Interesting stuff. Now, should large men wear checks and stripes? Or should they stick to plains?
They can, but they have to be fairly muted.
Right, okay.
So, you know, small checks, things like very small, not bold plaids.
Right.
Small checks, like a Prince of Wales, of course, or like a houndstooth.
But maybe the smaller
houndstooth, because, you know, large patterns just exaggerate your size because they appear horizontally as well. So if you're large horizontally, it just sort of makes you look wider than you really are. So if I were large, I would stay away from large patterns. You know, you can wear patterns, but they have to be very small.
Small patterns, muted. Tiring, shy patterns. What about stripes? Like a chalk stripe
Certainly,
suit?
Yes. Chalk stripes would work because they're vertical and they tend to sort of elongate the figure. So chalk stripes are fine if you're sort of a big fellow, but it's always better to stick with something muted. So either plain colors or sort of very, very small checks that appear as a solid from a distance.
Which they do, don't they? If you stand far enough back, they
correct.
They do it. So blue and white houndstooth, for example, tends to look sort of grey when you stand away from it. And what about short men or small, narrow men? Are there any particular patterns or designs that they should avoid?
Well, certainly pinstripes will work for you because it sort of gives you a bit of a vertical line. Bold checks, again, maybe not, because they just sort of draw attention to your small stature.
Yes, and it's difficult. Some of those very large checks that you have,
they might
difficult
be
to tailor on a
overpowering on a smaller person. Exactly, it would look like you're just wearing a big chessboard.
Yes, indeed.
So I would say sort of subtle, just similar to big fellows, like subtle patterns, and pinstripes.
And so maybe smaller stripes, maybe pin as opposed to rope.
As opposed to wide.
Yeah, like a chalk stripe or a rope stripe.
Right.
Interesting. Now, if you're wearing casual trousers such as chinos and cargos, should you wear braces with them?
It depends. It depends. I don't wear them with mine because my chinos come with, or our chinos come with side tabs.
I was going to ask, is it side tabs or a belt that you should think of side tabs?
There are none of our trousers yet come with belts, but our chinos and casual trousers come with side tabs. So I tend to wear them with side tabs because sometimes you wear on sort of a casual polo or a T-shirt or something like that, and you don't want to, wear a pair of suspenders over that. So, but there are those who actually can be quite stylish if that's your thing, to wear sort of full cut chinos with suspenders. I mean, that's how work clothes used to be made, right?
Yes.
Sort of, work jeans and denims.
Absolutely.
Or canvas cotton chinos were worn with like dungarees.
Well, overalls are effectively a very large pair of braces, aren't they?
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. Interesting. So that would apply to jeans as well. No need to wear braces, but side adjusters, because you don't want to wear a belt if you can, for reasons into which we've gone many times. Now, we had a question here from YouTube, and one observer pointed out, Proff was seen wearing an ascot with a suit after telling everybody else not to do this. Really want to be very careful. People notice this.
I don't recall saying that, frankly. I don't recall. I mean, I read that particular comment. I think it was on YouTube or somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't recall saying that. I don't recall saying don't wear an ascot with a suit. I just said do not wear a suit with an open neck, tieless.
Right. So there you go.
I said, I specifically said it makes you look like an idiot.
I might have guessed there was a
remember the particular reel.
There,
I said, don't wear a suit with an open, the I guess what you might call the current fad of wanting to seem approachable and not wearing a tie. Yes. Well, if you're not going to wear a tie, just wear a sport coat.
Yeah, exactly.
A sport jacket with basically a shirt, an open neck shirt. But if you're going to wear a suit, you have to have some kind of neckwear.
You really do.
Typically a tie. Typically a tie. But on this occasion, it was an evening event. It was a dinner party we were hosting for our followers in Tokyo. And I wanted to sort of do something a bit more, say, playful evening. I was traveling with a very limited wardrobe too.
Yep.
So I was traveling with a suit and a tweed jacket, and I couldn't wear a tweed jacket at night.
No.
And it was a dark suit. So I said, okay.
There you go.
I had only 2 pieces of tailoring, a dark suit and a tweed coat.
Yep.
So I wore the dark suit and I just wore my ascot because it at least provided some covering for the neck.
Yeah. There you go.
So that explains it.
That explains it. If you're traveling in Tokyo with only 2 garments, you're allowed to wear an ascot. Now, Prof, question here, and I think we asked it last year around this time. What does Prof think of Pitti Uomo?
Whoa. I think the audience could probably answer that question. Captain, why are you laughing?
Well, yes, okay. Yes, it's a bit of a red rag to a bull.
Captain could probably answer that question. Pitti or Pitti party. Look, Pitti used to be a thing. And going back to its origins, it used to be a trade show.
Right.
Used to be a trade show where artisans sort of came and displayed their wares to be discovered. This was before the internet, of course.
Yeah.
Before the internet, before social media and all of that stuff. People needed, especially artisans, needed, somewhere where people could know they exist. So
it was like a market.
It was a marketplace, basically, and buyers would come. It was basically a meeting of just artisans and buyers.
Right.
So buyers from department stores, from haberdasheries, and things of that nature around the world would fly to Italy and would, meet with these artisans who had no other means of being exposed.
Yeah.
And they would get to know each other and build sort of business or commercial relationships. And that was the whole essence of Pitti when it started. And then, of course, with the emergence of the internet, you had journalists started to attend.
Right.
Writers, journalists, or people like the gentleman we just talked about earlier, who shall remain unnamed, and his ilk. They would sort of come to these events to also provide coverage for these artisans.
Right.
So that was the whole idea of Pitti in the first. It was first the buyers and the sellers, and then the journalists, started attending. And these journalists, remember, a lot of them are quote unquote superstars on the internet, right? Or at least some, or figures.
Yes.
Or
impartial observers.
Impartial observers, and
Yes.
some of them have sort of cult followings on the
Yeah,
internet. And so they would go to these shows and they would sort of, they would prepare media on photographs and things, or write about it afterwards.
But what would they photograph if these were artisans?
Well, they would photograph the items, right? The products. They would photograph the products and then photograph themselves. Photograph themselves with the artisans or with the buyers.
Right. Okay.
And so, at the very onset of social media, this is around 2010, late 2000s, early 2010, they would publish these images on their blogs.
Right.
On their blogs. I mean, remember, these guys were the celebrities. They were mini celebrities, and they would publish these images on their blogs and the glitz and everything. And it started to attract the attention of a lot of people.
Okay.
A lot of people who had nothing to do with being a buyer or a seller, just sort of a lot of bloggers and a lot of influencers. This was even before the name influencer was coined.
Okay.
And so people started flocking to this event just for the pizzazz, just for the cosmetics of it, having absolutely no interest in the products.
So they didn't actually buy anything?
They didn't buy. They weren't there to meet the buyers or the sellers, and they were just there to basically to participate in the carnival.
But didn't you attend?
I've been to a few of them.
Yeah.
I've been to, that's why I said this was the earlier versions of it. And I think once it became a bit of a carnival, I just gave up on it. I think last time I attended might have been 2018.
So quite a long time ago now.
Quite a long time, about 8 years ago.
And why did you go?
Because I wanted to meet the different artisans, and that was when this was before AskOkey was born, but this was after I had left banking and I was sort of looking into sort of doing something in the industry, not quite knowing. I mean, even at the time, it wasn't clear to me that I wanted to start a brand.
Right, okay.
But I was still sort of getting to learn and meet people, just sort of learning about products. And I used to keep a blog, remember? You were part of that blog,
I do remember.
my WhatsApp blog.
So these were, did you meet tailors there?
Oh, yeah, I met a lot of tailors. I met a lot of, some of them who remain my acquaintances and friends to this day.
Right.
So I also sort of would grab content. Like I would learn about different products and take photographs and videos, and I would post them on my WhatsApp blog then, if you remember. So in a way, my trips to Pitti at the time were more as an observer stroke journalist.
Right, okay.
Not necessarily, a buyer or a seller or or a carnival goer,
because
or
some
a
of the
jamboree goer.
But some of the outfits that people wear are absolutely pathetic, and yet you have photographers fawning all over them. And then they show them, and you think, what on earth do you fellas think you're
but
doing?
It's a carnival, right? It's a carnival. Remember, content is currency in the current age. So, sometimes the most ridiculous things tend to catch your attention quicker.
But I think what I notice, Prof, is men who are even older than I am, sort of prancing around saying, "Look at me." Well, is that really what one wants to do?
Well, that's what they want to do, Pete.
Okay, yeah, I suppose.
So, you know, each to his own, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
there you
what they want to do. And, you know, if they can afford the time and the expense of being there to peacock, then more power to them.
Well, I hope their children and grandchildren don't have access to the photographs, because really, when they say, look what Granddad is wearing, or what he was wearing way back when, it would be slightly embarrassing. Anyway, one final question. Can men wear tights such as lycra or spandex? And if so, when?
Wow. I mean, what purpose would that serve, if I may ask?
I don't know. Maybe for going out casually, like to the shops, if they're, you know, feeling athletic or something like
Well,
that.
that is quite ludicrous. I mean, you know, I know some men, I do sometimes wear compression shorts for sports.
Right, okay.
You
Is
know,
that what you
just-
call them?
We
Compression
call them
shorts?
compression shorts.
Ah, okay.
Because
okay.
they keep you sometimes from cramping.
Right, okay.
So I do wear compression shorts or trousers for sports, boxing, running, what have you. Well, that's about it.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't be caught prancing around,
No.
you know, sort of the streets or the supermarket in compression shorts, also known as tights.
Or at Pitti Uomo,
Or
for example.
Or God forbid, at Pitti Uomo.
Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we hope you've had a pleasant 45 or 50 minutes or so of AskOkey. Once again, like and subscribe before you switch off, and we look forward to being with you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you,
Thank
Pete.
you, Proff.
Always a pleasure.
Pleasure is mine.
Thank you for having me.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Bye, everybody.